A few weeks ago, I talked about, in my blog, Finding Jesus, talked about a field that was being clear cut across the street from my father-in-law's property. And that the lumber company will eventually come in and burn off the underbrush and plant pines and transform that ugly looking field right now into something that's beautiful. Well, this is one of those episodes where and I compared that to my own life, and that I had clear cut my life of everything that I had believed up to this point, and now I'm left with some underbrush that needed to be burned off. Well, this is one of those events, a burning. An event in my life that transformed who I potentially could have been occurred when my father left for the second time. It was going back to 1977, my dad was working for a cabinet shop in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. Now, we lived in Lebanon, Tennessee, a few miles away. We lived there because we couldn't afford to live closer to Nashville. We had to move out from Nashville. But my dad could sell ice to Eskimos. I mean, he was just that kind of guy. I mean, he had the charisma that got people to get motivated to give him money. It was amazing, his ability. I wish I had half his ability. And my dad had gotten a contract to work on the cabinets for the Opryland Hotel. Now, this caught the attention of a group of investors, and that group of investors wanted to back him in a cabinet shop. And they put that cabinet shop in Laverne, Tennessee. And my dad ended up getting 49% of the business and a salary of $500 a week. Now, $500 a week doesn't sound like a lot of money in 2016, but in 1978, that was a lot of money. It'd be equivalent to about $100,000 today. And so my dad finally hit the big league. I mean, he had worked all of his life struggling from one job to the next and one city to the next, and he finally hit the big league. After my 7th grade year at Lebanon, for about 6 months, my dad would commute from Lebanon, Tennessee to Laverne. Big, long drive, but he made that sacrifice where I could stay in school at Lebanon and let me finish out the school year. That June, we moved, or late May, early June, we moved to a brand new house in Smyrna, Tennessee. I mean, we had never lived in a house like this. It had all the amenities. It was beautiful. And I was excited about our life in this new city. And my dad was working away in the cabinet business. But a little trick or a little thing that occurred, that my dad also had a girlfriend in Nashville. And his girlfriend and her brother and my dad opened a cabinet shop in competition with the cabinet shop that my dad was a partner of and managed. I don't know why my dad would do something so stupid. But he would go in and bid on a contract and then tell his girlfriend what his bid was, and she would come in and underbid and get the contract. So basically, my dad was stealing from the company that he was a partner in. Unbelievable. Well, eventually his partners found out. Instead of sticking around and facing the consequences for his actions, he and his girlfriend bolted, leaving Mom and I in Smyrna, Tennessee. All by ourselves. No money. And no hope of... I mean, we were just lost. Luckily, my family came and got us. I lived with my uncle for a few weeks, or I think it was 5 or 6 weeks that I lived with my uncle. My mom and I eventually moved to Madison, Alabama. And through that experience, I ended up, if it had not been for that, I would not have met my wife Autumn, and I would not have my son Asher, because we would never have crossed paths. So this tragic event turned out to be a blessing. You know, over the years, I've thought, what would have happened if my dad had stuck around and kept his dick in his pants? You know, would I've had the same life that I've had? Probably not. Probably would have been financially more secure in my life. I probably would have had more stability in my emotions, because, you know, that was devastating, losing my dad for the second time. And then eventually a third time. I'll tell you that story another day. And because of that tragedy, those tragedies, I ended up becoming kind of manic throughout my high school years. I would either be so addicted to religion that it drove me crazy, or I was so addicted to alcohol and other substances that were not good for me. But life doesn't have to be a tragedy. We can take these tragic events in our lives and transform them into something beautiful. I've been able to do that. I love my wife more than you can imagine. I would not have had that experience if I had not ended up in Madison, Alabama. Sure, I might have had a different wife, but we don't know. So let the past be the past and live in the now. See you next time.